it's interesting in thinking about the bigger vision, because ultimately the work is really, it's so personal, and it's such a small thing when it's the most touching. So, but in terms of, spreading this work across the land, I think one thing I know I didn't mention is CLE programs, and that we've actually given, that's continuing legal education, and so we've given CLE credit at all of our retreats, and it's been an interesting task to present the material in a way that really effectively complies with the CLE requirements. But it's been challenging, and it's been so rewarding, because we see, oh, this is what the state bar wants us to do to be for continuing legal education, and oh, this is what we're doing. This is exactly beyond what they've contemplated. It meets the criteria and goes beyond that. We would love to see this work expanded into other states throughout all of California, and perhaps some other states, as just the first stepping stone, but to have lots of CLE programs, to have courses at law schools, to have perhaps programs for specific types of legal practitioners, be it mediators, public defenders, corporate lawyers, what have you. We would like to have ongoing programs for judges. In fact, I haven't talked at all about judges, which is one really exciting, promising area for this work. I think it's almost like a trickle-down theory, although I'm reluctant to use that word, of course. But a trickle-down theory in that judges judges are the way that most people interact. I shouldn't say most, but a lot of people interact with the legal system, and you have attorneys and clients, and are often, at least if they're doing litigation, right? So if you had a judge who really embodied this meditative perspective, imagine just what that would be like in the courtroom, if that was because this person's in the courtroom, they're in charge, they're holding the space, it's palpable in the air. So if you had someone who seemed a little calmer, or was more willing to listen to people, I think that would diffuse a lot of the tension in the room. And that's why it's been so promising that we've had some judges come to the retreats. We have some judges that we work with who are some of our teachers. A gentleman named Michael Zimmerman, who was a former Chief Justice of the Utah Supreme Court, and recently ordained as a Zen priest, and is also a partner in a big law firm in Salt Lake City. And this gentleman named Ron Greenberg, who is a retired Alameda Superior Court judge. Alameda is the county that we're in here, in the city of Alameda. But Ron, who used to he did I think it was a drug court, and he would start his courtroom sessions with 5 minutes of silence. And there's an article, I think you could link to it, called Now in Zen, that he wrote about his experiences. Also, Mary Morgan, who is currently in the San Francisco Superior Court, and I think she's actually begun offering a monthly program for other judges and judicial officers in her building there in the city. So that's some of the leadership. We've also done some programs for judges. We did a program last year at the California biannual Bar Bench Conference, and we had about 40 judges come to that. Funny story about that is that we were going to do this program, and we had I think 120 judges sign up. Blew our minds. Like, I couldn't believe it. It was going to be a half-day program, but that over 100 judges would be interested in coming to a meditation program. And so the day arrives, and I wasn't there, I just heard this, but I think maybe about like 40 judges showed up at the thing. And as was reflected in their evaluations, all but 2 of them or so thought it was a program about mediation for judges. They left out the T, right? But they stayed. Most of them stayed for it and found it incredible. And there's a talk about doing some follow-up from that, and an effort to do that. And I know that we did a program a couple years ago for judges in Washington, D.C. So that's, to me, seems like an area in terms of our vision for the future that is very promising, both in our interest and the interest that we've seen coming from some members of the bench. You know, I appreciate being asked about the larger vision of societal change, because it's in kind of doing this work lately, on the side, I've been just trying to get what needs to get done, and I haven't been able to sit back and reflect on that larger question. And we haven't done that so much as an organization in terms of that question of what we want to see out of society. I mean, certainly we'd like to see lots more, you know, contemplative, reflective individuals. It's a real subtle thing, because with meditation, it changes you, but it doesn't change anything at the same time. So and what I mean by that is that you become, your personality doesn't radically alter, but for example, if you have a propensity to get angry about certain things, that's not just going to disappear, but you might relate to that differently. You might see your anger and you don't act on it, something like that. So that's how it changes you. I would hope that more people are different, and that their lives are improved, and that they're happier, and that they're more effective as lawyers, and that their clients are in turn happier and getting better service, and there's a better ethics in the profession. I think what we'd like to see, though, is we do talk about this, is just the acceptance as meditation and contemplative practice being an important part of training lawyers, an important part of being a lawyer, that it would be almost like a CLE requirement, that you would have you'd have to do some kind of work in this to cultivate that other piece of yourself, that more like humanistic side of yourself, that doing reflection, that would be incorporated in the training of lawyers, and that it would be. It's more and more readily acceptable, but I mean, it's still, you say this stuff, meditation for lawyers, and it gets a laugh with most people, and I would just hope that more people get it and think it's integral. Just closing my eyes and trying to envision what it would be like if all lawyers took up meditation or contemplative practice. I mean, it just, without any specifics, it's just a very warm feeling. Brings a smile to my face. I think that we would see a change in legal institutions and structures, and from just throughout, that we would have a change in the way that laws were written, in the way that courts were run. I don't think that we would be beyond dispute. I would hope not, because I think there's a lot of growth that can happen from disputes, but I think that you would have people treating each other more kindly, and there'd be less hurt, less pain, less suffering in the world. Yeah, it's a beautiful vision. There probably would be less of an adversarial process, and that the pie would kind of be bigger about what's at stake in a certain in all these ways, where the law, in transactional litigation, family, criminal, like whatever, all the ways of law it would be more about winning and losing, and more about growth of human potential, and growth as society. The website for the center is www.contemplativemind.org, and then you can link to the law program page from there. I think it's /program/law.